Hello and welcome to a special episode of Canvas Conversations and the Boom Breakdown. I'm joined today by Brian Kelleher. We are originally going to try and do a breakdown of UFC 223, but in light of all this madness that's been going on, we kind of decided we might just turn this into a bit of a reaction video of all the news that's been happening. So I guess I'll kind of pass it off to Boom. I'll let you start, man. What do you make of the absolute madness
Oh,
that
it's
has been going
crazy.
on in New York,
Yeah,
man? Well,
it's wild stuff, man. I would have never expected this, but maybe I don't know with Connor and the way he acts sometimes. It's like the guy's on edge, he does crazy shit. But like you heard Dana White at the press conference saying like, no, Connor's definitely not gonna be here, and then the guy just does whatever he wants. He flies in on his private jet and just starts causing mayhem, and it's pretty messed up, seeing him throw. I think I saw a video of him throwing like a trolley against the window of the
a
bus,
dolly,
shattered.
yeah.
Yeah, shattered the window of the bus, and supposedly Michael Chiesa got cut on his forehead, and Rose Namajunas was all shook up, and I'm pretty sure Khabib was on that bus, but I don't know, man. I don't know what he's thinking.
See, that's what my question was. Is I don't know if Habib was on the bus or not, but either way, what are you accomplishing? I guess by throwing the dolly through the bus, like I don't know if you saw the little 10 minute sit that Dana White did with the MMA junkie guys, where he's talking about just basically his thoughts on everything, his reaction to this all, and he's talking about throwing Conor in jail. What did he have to gain from that? You know what I mean? And he even mentions you could have fought Habib right after this. Why wait? What? I can't
Yeah,
I
man.
can't even, bro.
I don't know what's going on in his mind. Some people say it could be some drugs or some alcohol, which still doesn't, make this kind of behavior acceptable. Like it's crazy. I mean, Dana White looks pretty pissed off, and I know he has a pretty good relationship with Connor, but now it seems like Connor's burning all his bridges doing stuff like this. And yeah, I saw that interview with MMA Junkie, and Dana just seems to be really upset. Like he said, it's the worst thing that's ever happened in UFC history. And I don't know what Connor's thinking because, like you said, the Khabib fight was on the horizon if he wins, and he might have just ruined it. Or some people are saying like, "Oh, that's just promotion. That's just promotion." I'm like thinking, well, it's promotion, but in a in a crazy like despicable way. Like that's a little beyond promotion, to go and hurt people on the current fight card.
I mean, I feel like that's maybe WWE fans that are like, this is a bit of promotion stuff because, as you
Yeah.
know, they're making the comparison of Conor and Stone Cold Steve Austin and it being but this isn't the WWE where this is kind of planned and plotted and okay, Stone Cold, you're gonna come in through the back, you're gonna make all this crazy, you know what I mean? You're gonna
Yeah.
make this big scene. They're not doing with that with Conor backstage. By the way, my Twitter is just like
Oh yeah.
going off on all this news all day.
Yeah. Twitter's
Um,
going off right now.
it, it's nuts. I follow some news outlets and stuff, and they're just constantly. Anyway, uh, I kind of lost my train of thought there with that, but it's
Yeah, man. No,
abs madness, man.
it's wild stuff. I didn't think, if he showed up, I thought it was going to be just for strictly after the fight, like, hey, let's promote this next fight. And I just think Connor has so much money at this point that he doesn't care. It's like he has so much money, he's just showing up, causing this stuff. People are going to sue him. I mean, I supposedly someone's knuckles broke, like a UFC staff member got hurt.
He's going to jail.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's like a warrant out
Dana
for his
said his
arrest.
plane can't leave New York, the state of New York.
Yeah.
His plane is grounded, and he even wants the Mac Life guys. They said, well, I'm the junkie guy says I assume the Mac Life guys are gonna lose their credential, and he's like, I hope they all go to jail too. I hope they all get thrown in jail too.
Oh yeah, man. They did some sneaky shit there. Like Connor knows how to find his way in there. It's crazy because like it's not easy to find the fighters. They don't make it easy for people because the public, then everyone would storm the buses and everything. So he found his way in there with the Mac Life people, and I think they were telling him like, listen, this is where everyone is. Like, come in through this way. They supposedly let him in, and then he caused that whole big scene.
So if you're Michael Chiesa and you're in that position, obviously, you know how big of a deal it is. Put yourself in that position. You're about to fight Barao. Like, what would you do if you had a huge fight like this on the line? A former champion, just like Chiesa had lined up and a former champion with Pettis.
Yeah.
What do you do? How are you feeling if you have 2 cuts or 1 cut, whatever it is? Just even if you're in Rose's position with no cuts,
Yeah.
how would you feel right now?
Man, it's devastating stuff. I guess as a fighter with the fight coming up, you got to kind of stay unfazed and tune it out. Unfazed. That's the motto, no matter what happens. But yeah, it's crazy stuff to happen so close to the fight. Especially you're cutting weight, so you're in an emotional state. You're kind of down and out already. You got to get through the weight cut, and then something like this happens to you. I mean, Rose was just kind of affected by it, I feel like, psychologically, but Chiesa actually got cut open. And with that said, it's like, man, the guy might not even be able to fight depending on what the doctors say, how bad this cut is and everything. And this is going to affect this guy's livelihood. Like, I'm surprised no one got off the bus and fired back, to be honest.
That's what I was honestly, that's what I was most surprised about. Like, I heard Rose got off the bus and walked home, I guess.
Yeah.
But my thought was like, geez, well, I'm surprised somebody wasn't getting off of the bus in retaliation mode. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's some like
this is a bus full of, that's a bus full of fighters, I mean, not just any fighters, top level UFC fighters, which I'm guessing 100% of their responses are in fight or flight mode to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, crazy.
Yeah, that's
Absolute
why I was
crazy.
surprised at too. But Conor was with so many people. It seemed like a lot of the people he was with were trying to like stop him, but he was like sprinting to do whatever he was gonna do. And you see his bodyguard like try to jump in the way and like catch the thing before it hits the window. Like, it's like, man, it must be crazy life trying to bodyguard for that guy.
No shit, man. Also, with this, talk about people's or messing up maybe their lives or their fighting career, or putting a damper in it for sure, or slowing it down, however you want to put it. Artem's off the card.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, I didn't know that was official, so they took him off.
He's off, so now who does Caceres fight? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so he just really affected a bunch of people's careers, with that gesture. So it's messed up, man. Now Caceres is left without anybody. It's too close to the fight probably now to replace anybody. I think they took Artem off the card because he was like in the group of people that when he was doing that, he was with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's from what I heard from Dana. Yeah, that's exactly right. He, even being with him, guilty by association. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if the stuff that happened with Artem and Habib, I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah.
They had the little confrontation, Habib putting his hand on it. I don't know if that was a slap exactly, or if it's maybe a culture Russian thing that they kind of talk to each other maybe like this. But I don't know. Anyways, it looked like Artem wasn't really uncomfortable with that. I don't know. But whatever happened there was some tension. I think I originally thought maybe, okay, that's part of what it is, but I don't know if it's the combination of him hearing that he's gonna lose or be stripped of his title, or the fact that Habib and Artem had some little beef. I don't know if it's a combination or what. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think it's a combination of things. I'm sure he stays tuned with what's going on with the business, watching the press conferences and the way people talk now about him for not stepping up for the fight and whatnot. I mean, Dana White really seems to always have his back, but at some point you got to put your foot down. I mean, Dana's like, listen, enough's enough. You've been out for so long. We got to move on with the business. So, he's saying as soon as this fight starts, it's for the world title. No one else has the world title. It's going to be one of these guys. So I think that pisses off Conor. I think that in his head, he's like, no, I'm still the champ. I still got the belt. You're not going to take anything off of me. And, man, he just gets spiteful, it looks like, and tries to fire back and take it out on whoever he can. And then Khabib said, he wouldn't step up to take the fight. Where are you now? You're on vacation and you're not answering the phone call. What's up? And that's even interesting, too, because supposedly Conor's in Syria or somewhere on vacation that they said. And now all of a sudden I guess he's got the private jet. He can go anywhere at any time. But it's just crazy how quick he ended up in New York,
I totally agree, man. I couldn't agree more. I was thinking maybe I thought that maybe this was too much for him. Maybe all this highlight on Max going for his belt and having defended his 45-pound title twice against Aldo, Something that, everybody's a critic, right? Something that they said, oh, Conor never defended a belt, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
but Max did, and what if he does win the second title? Now it kind of takes that really big shine that was on Conor as the champ. It kind of diminishes that shine, in my opinion. If Maxie does pull it off and does become the two-weight champ, it's kind of evens the playing field, honestly, I think, throughout the entire UFC, because now he's not up on this pedestal. I mean, obviously he's definitely not now, but if Max wins, whoa, I feel like the whole dynamic of the UFC shifts and goes back almost to even. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think because Max is one of those guys that he's like, I'm gonna defend the belts. Like he wants to be that old school guy that's like, I'm taking on all the number one contenders that filter in. Like I'm not gonna just look for money fights because it's money fights. And yeah, man, I agree with you. I think it's crazy that Max's last loss was to Conor, and now he could possibly have both belts that Conor had, and almost have to force Conor to come back to him now. There's no other way. And it's like someone was saying in an interview, it's like checkmate. If
Exactly.
you know what I mean, if Holloway wins. I mean, I see Khabib winning the fight personally. I would like to see Holloway win, but I don't see it happening. But if Khabib wins, then you got this whole Russia versus Ireland thing. But I just feel like you went too far with it. You could have done something a little bit lower key than that, and made it promotion.
Yeah, I hadn't even honestly thought of, or I guess I have, but I just hadn't gone that deep into the thought process yet of like, okay, if Habib does win, what happens there? When do him and Conor fight? How does that all transpire? But it's I'm still trying to absorb all the events of today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Today is like
Conor going to jail.
100 miles
Like,
an hour.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So now that this card has been all changed up and everything, or not completely, but do you think pay-per-view buys are affected positively or negatively by this?
I honestly think they're affected positively. I think that people like drama, whether it's good or bad. They're interested. I think that this hurts Conor McGregor. His status as far as fans go. I think it's just too far. People are human beings. They're like, you're pushing it. You're hurting other people. You're ruining cards. You're coming in and just doing whatever you want, being reckless. I don't think people like to see that. It's one thing to be brash and cocky and promote fights and talk shit, but to go that far, I think that really gets people to question your character. So, but then again, with that said, I feel like people now want to see what happens more. Like, oh my God, look what Conor did. What if Max wins? What if Khabib wins? Russia, Ireland, whatever. Like, I think people are now so curious what's gonna happen. Like fight night, is Conor gonna find his way into the building somehow? Fight night, like whatever. So there's a lot of intrigue that it creates.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I think it's going to skyrocket the sales. Uh, I don't see him being able to make a way into the arena for 223, though. I think that's next to impossible based off of the way Dana talked about him.
Oh yeah.
Do you think what do you think there are going to be the repercussions for Conor moving forward from the UFC? Do you think they give him a suspension or anything, or
Man,
let it
it's
be up to
great
the
to think
cops?
about that. Yeah, I was thinking about that right after I saw the interview. I'm just like, what is Dana really gonna do? Because Conor holds so much power in the sport now that sometimes you don't know. It's at the point where it's like, is he bigger than the UFC? That's what the talk is. So it's like, could you really afford to just kick this guy to the curb and say, listen, man, you went too far. Like, we can't have this. Like, we can't have you fight for us. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think, he'll have to deal with his legal terms with getting sued possibly. And I don't know if the commission could even do anything about this or how that works. But something's got to happen. You got to have repercussions for this kind of actions. And whether it comes from the UFC or from the police or what, I'm sure Dana's going to have to act on it just to cover his own side. I mean, you can't just let this happen and be like, it's all good, because then, it's going to happen again in the future. So I think he'll do something about it. What he will do, I don't know, but you got to act on it.
Absolutely. Whose career is more tarnished by the most recent events of throughout their career, John Jones or Conor McGregor?
I think John Jones has done more things that have added up to ruin his career. more current situations that have put him out of big fights. But Conor's getting close, man. Like doing this kind of stuff, it's really close. I mean, obviously with John Jones, with the pregnant lady that he hit, like that's some deep stuff. You know, it looks really bad on him, you know, to leave that scene and everything like that. But overall, I think when you're John Jones, you made a mistake. Like, you know, whatever it was, he's smoking some weed and he's driving a car. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Not that it's the right thing. It's just, it's not, it doesn't make you a bad person, you know, like to make a mistake. You can redeem yourself. But like with Conor, it's like, it's intentional, reckless behavior that he's like, I don't care. You know, I just don't care what happens. And I'm going to do what I want. I don't care if I hurt people. He just doesn't seem sorry for anything he does, which I guess you could say the same for Jones, but I don't know who's to say which is worse. They're both kind of going on the same page.
So who do you think, or so do you think Conor can redeem himself?
I think anybody can redeem themselves in life. You know, there's people that have murdered people that go in jail and they find, you know, some kind of peace and some kind of something in jail or whatever, and they get out and they become a better person. I think it's always possible, you know. But who knows with this guy? I mean, he's a new father, and this is the kind of behavior after becoming a father. It's just like, are you gonna change at all? I don't know. He's still young, so he's got some time to figure himself out and become a better person, and hopefully he does that.
So if you're in like Rose's position or Johanna's position, you're the co-main event, you know, are you disappointed by these? Not only if you're Rose, you know, you're directly impacted by being in that van or in that bus or whatever, but are you bothered by this at all just because Conor kind of comes in, or anywhere, anybody on the card really, that Conor just kind of comes in and steals the entire limelight and all the news and everything like that? Would you be a kind of, you know, salty about that?
Oh yeah, I would definitely think about that and feel a certain way about it. Like it's just messed up, you know. Like I wouldn't appreciate that, and like especially if you have a lot of spotlight on you and he just steals everything, and really anybody on the card. But it's something that's gonna affect people, and you know you don't want to have any excuses. But who knows what this did psychologically to some of the people, you know, and you know he's causing crazy chaos during these moments leading up to fight cards, and it's really just not fair for these fighters. But ultimately, what you can't control, you have to kind of just let go, and I think that's what's going to have to happen after tonight. It's like you just got to kick back into fight mode, cut your weight, get ready to fight, and just forget about this.
Yeah, yeah. So which matchup now do you think is the most intriguing matchup of UFC 223 outside of the main event?
Outside of the well, now at this point, yeah, I guess Chiesa Pettis, because we don't know what's gonna happen with. I kind of want to see how Chiesa is doing. You know,
Right.
if he did suffer like a bad cut, is he gonna stay on the card? How's he gonna work through that mentally? It'll be interesting to hear what Chiesa has to say after it's all said and done. If he does fight, like what did this all do to you in the lead up to the fight? So definitely interested in hearing about that.
Yeah, for me, for sure, me too. I think heading into before all this madness, that was one of the fights I was looking forward to most outside of the main and co-main event for sure, but even more so now. Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, man. And that was that was your fight of the night pick, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Fight of the night. So, who's your fight of the night pick now?
You know, I was gonna go with I think I'm gonna go with Namajunas and Jacek because I think that this fight's gonna be different in the sense where it's gonna last a lot longer. You know, the first fight was over so fast; it was just a quick left hook, caught her, she's down and out. But I think Jacek's gonna show up a lot sharper, both mentally and physically. This fight with the weight cut seeming to be going smoother for her. And I think that this fight's going to last longer, maybe go like 4 or 5 rounds, maybe even a decision. And it'll probably be a lot more back and forth action.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. It's compelling to see kind of the difference between the way I was approaching this fight and the way she approached the last fight. It's definitely different.
Yeah, you could see her at the press conferences. She just has like a different demeanor about her. She seems like more
Exactly.
at peace, like has like a smile on her, but like almost like she's trying to stay calm, you know, like because usually leading up to her fight, she has this intensity and she's talking trash to the opponent and really trying hard to get in their head. But she knows now that didn't work against Rose the first time, so it's a complete different approach, and I could see it as well.
Yeah, I saw in one of the most recent face-offs, Johanna was still speaking, like talking to
Yeah,
Rose at the face-off. I don't know what she's saying, obviously, but she's talking. But it's very calm. Whatever she's saying is just like, I imagine it's something like basically what she's always kind of saying, like, soon you'll find out, I'm the new champion or whatever, or I'm the real champion or whatever. But Rose is just stone-faced, absorbing it, and then as they break, she just kind of grins, like, and it looks like in my mind, I read it as like she's almost like this girl's just doing the same, trying to do the same stuff, and it's still not bugging me, kind of a deal. But I don't know.
yeah.
It's interesting to see.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that too, and I was wondering, I'm like, is she talking trash or is she kind of just having a conversation, and is it respectful? Like I couldn't tell, because the way that
Right.
they split, it looked weird, but I'm sure she's saying like what you're saying, like I'm number one, like I'm gonna get that belt back, stuff like that, but just not as intense.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what do you think, man? In spite of all this stuff, does this affect the card overall, not just the pay-per-view, but for the fighters and everything, for the entire community of mixed martial arts? Is this a positive for the world of mixed martial arts or a negative?
I mean, it's definitely a negative as far as antics goes, but I think as far as like spotlight on the sport, like it just brings more eyes to the sport. People want to see what's going on, but to the casual fan, the guy that's just sitting home watching, I don't know, maybe he's turned off by this kind of act, by someone being reckless like this, but you never know, man. I think people in life just like to see drama, like I was saying before, and whether it's bad or good, like they're gonna tune in to see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this has been a crazy lead up. I can't wait to see this card. Um, it's gonna be fireworks. I feel like. What do you think?
Yeah, man, it's amazing. I feel like this card is like the hardest card to choose fight of the night. Like when you ask me, I'm like, man, I don't know. It's like going down the whole list. Like it's like every fight could possibly be, besides maybe a few fights, but so many fights on this card could be a fight of the night type of matchup.
I totally agree. I'm also looking forward to seeing Raging Al back in there against Paul Felder. That's a good one too.
Yeah, me too. I'm really hyped up for that fight because Iaquinta's been out for a little while doing his selling homes and stuff like that, but he has a little bit of like chip on his shoulder too, and has a little bitterness towards the UFC, it seems. So I really want to see how he reacts and comes back in this fight, and he's fighting a really really polished guy in Felder who has some dangerous ground and pound elbows, stand up, everything. Two very well rounded guys and two guys that go in there to kill and get the finish. So looking forward to that one.
Anybody on the FS1 prelims or the Fight Pass card you're looking forward to checking out?
I kind of want to see how Borg rebounds against the title fight that he had with Demetrius against Moreno, because Moreno's that young guy that's coming up that's, upsetting a lot of people. And then Borg just came off that loss, but he had a pretty good performance against DJ overall, took him, to the later rounds. So I'm really interested to see if he's going to stick to the top or if Moreno's going to be that next guy to come up to challenge Demetrius.
Yeah, I'm ready for that one. That's gonna be a war, a Mexican battle, right?
Yeah, that Mexican battle right there.
Exactly. Anybody you scoped out on the FS1 prelims? I know we were kind of talking about or thinking about Artem, but obviously he's out as we talked about.
Yeah, I wanted to see that fight too because like I said, Artem's kind of like he's in the UFC a lot because of Conor, because of that connection. But Caceres is a guy that like throws a lot of flashy, tricky stuff in there. He's always exciting to watch. He throws a lot of spinning techniques, and Artem's just like a in-your-face type of guy with heavy boxing, brawler type style. But yeah, now that that fight's off, it's a bummer. But I guess if you were gonna pick one fight to get kicked off the card, like that could be one of them. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other really good fights on the card, so it doesn't take much away from the card, I feel. Also, I really want to see that other Russian guy, Magomed Sharipov, fight.
Zabit.
Is that yeah, Zabit? He puts on crazy performances, and he's a young rising star. So really looking forward to see what he does.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him honestly that kind of low on the card with as much acclaim as he's had coming up. I thought he would have been a lot higher up, and hats off to Kyle for taking that fight. He's a big underdog there.
Oh yeah, that's a tough fight to take. I mean, I hear a lot of people turn down that fight. So yeah, big props to Bokniak for taking that. He's a really tough, well-rounded guy too. But I just feel like Zabit is on another level, and they're probably gonna slowly build him up like this. You know, he's the first fight of the night on the prelims, but sometimes they do that with guys. You know, they want to slowly build them up. You don't want to rush them into something crazy too fast. I think that's a smart business move on the UFC.
Absolutely, man. Well, Boom, I appreciate the time, man, breaking down this madness. We're going to get you back in here for your own interview before your upcoming bout. So, anything you got for us before we head out?
No, man, that's it. Thanks a lot for having me. It was a lot of fun. We'll get these things going more in the future, and I'll talk to you soon for sure.